The air crackled with anticipation. The room, buzzing with energy, held the promise of transformation. As a government contractor coach and consultant, I've been in countless conference rooms, but this one felt different. We were about to embark on a journey, a deep dive into the principles of The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Hi, I'm Pamela Miner, government contractor coach, consultant with over 30 years experience, and a certified One Thing trainer and coach. The goal? To unlock extraordinary results by focusing on the power of one. For government contractors, the pressure to deliver exceptional results amidst complex regulations and intense competition is immense. The traditional approach of juggling multiple priorities often leads to overwhelm and diluted efforts. Today, that was all about to change. Today, we were going to learn how to simplify, prioritize, and achieve breakthroughs by focusing on the right thing at the right time. The workshop promised a shift in perspective, a new way of approaching work that resonated deeply with my own experiences. As we settled in, notebooks open, and minds eager, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. This wasn't just another workshop, it was an opportunity to empower these dedicated professionals with a framework for success, a way to navigate the complexities of their world and achieve remarkable outcomes. Government contractors operate in a world of high stakes and even higher expectations. They are tasked with delivering critical services, often under tight deadlines and with limited resources. The pressure to secure and maintain contracts is relentless, demanding a constant focus on compliance, innovation, and efficiency. In such a demanding environment, it's easy to fall into the trap of multitasking, of trying to do everything at once. But as I've witnessed firsthand, this approach rarely leads to optimal results. Instead, it often results in burnout, missed deadlines, and a sense of being perpetually behind. The key to success lies not in doing more, but in doing the right things exceptionally well. The promise of The One Thing resonated deeply with this group of professionals. They understood the need for focus, for clarity amidst chaos. They were eager to learn how to identify their most impactful tasks, the ones that would truly move the needle for their projects and their careers. The energy in the room was palpable, a mix of anticipation and a hunger for practical strategies that could be immediately implemented. In a world that constantly bombards us with distractions and demands our attention from all directions, the ability to focus on a single critical task is a superpower. The One Thing philosophy provided a framework for harnessing this power, for cutting through the noise and achieving extraordinary results. The central premise is deceptively simple, yet profoundly impactful. Identify the one thing that matters most, the task that will have the greatest impact on your overall goals, and make that your priority. By focusing your time, energy, and resources on that one thing, you create a ripple effect of success that permeates all areas of your work. For government contractors, this principle is particularly relevant. With so many competing priorities, the ability to identify and prioritize the most impactful tasks is essential for achieving project success, meeting deadlines, and ultimately securing future contracts. The One Thing workshop promised to provide the tools and strategies needed to make this happen, to empower these professionals to achieve their full potential by mastering the art of focused action. The facilitator's words echoed through the room. The path to getting everything you want is to get one thing at a time. He was introducing the concept of the domino effect, a powerful metaphor for how small, focused actions can lead to significant results. The idea immediately resonated with the audience, a group accustomed to tackling complex projects one step at a time. He went on to explain how each domino, standing upright, represents a small amount of potential energy. Line up enough dominoes and the potential energy accumulates, creating the possibility of a chain reaction. And that's precisely how extraordinary success is achieved, by identifying the right dominoes, lining them up strategically, and setting the first one in motion. The concept was both simple and profound. It spoke to the power of focus, of channeling our energy into the most impactful actions and trusting that those actions would create a ripple effect, leading to bigger and better outcomes. As government contractors, this resonated deeply. We often face overwhelming workloads and competing priorities. The domino effect offered a way to cut through the chaos and achieve extraordinary results by focusing on one key task at a time. Section 2. Unlocking potential energy, the power of focused action. The facilitator then shared a fascinating fact. A single domino can topple another domino that is 50% larger. This seemingly small detail had significant implications. It meant that even seemingly insignificant actions could have a disproportionate impact, setting in motion a chain of events that could lead to surprisingly large outcomes. He challenged the common misconception that extraordinary success requires Herculean efforts or overnight transformations. Instead, he emphasized the importance of consistency, of identifying the lead domino in any given situation and consistently knocking it down. This, he explained, is how momentum is built, how small wins pave the way for larger victories. The key takeaway was clear: focus on the right things, the ones that will have the biggest impact, and trust that consistent action, however small, will ultimately lead to extraordinary results. This message resonated deeply with the audience. In the world of government contracting, where progress can sometimes feel incremental, the idea that small, focused actions could lead to significant outcomes was both empowering and motivating. Section 3. From small wins to extraordinary results, embracing the geometric progression. The facilitator then shifted the focus to the concept of geometric progression, explaining how it differed from linear growth. Linear growth, he explained, is like a steady, predictable climb. Geometric progression, on the other hand, is like a hockey stick. It starts slowly, almost imperceptibly, but then curves sharply upwards, leading to exponential growth. He used the example of a 2-inch domino knocking down a series of increasingly larger dominoes. By the time you reach the 57th domino, he explained, it would be tall enough to span the distance from the Earth to the Moon. This powerful visual illustrated the incredible potential of geometric growth, highlighting the importance of patience, persistence, and a belief in the power of compounding effects. The challenge, he acknowledged, is that we often overestimate what we can achieve in the short term and underestimate what we can achieve in the long term. We want to see immediate results, to knock down the 57th domino right away. But extraordinary success, he reminded us, is rarely instantaneous. It requires a long-term vision, a commitment to consistent action, and the understanding that the greatest rewards often come from sustained effort over time. Section 1. Translating Theory into Action. The domino effect in government contracting. The energy in the room was palpable as the facilitator transitioned from the theoretical to the practical. How do we apply the domino effect in the real world, in the context of government contracting? He asked, capturing the essence of the audience's collective thought. It starts with understanding that every project, every goal is essentially a series of dominoes, he explained. He emphasized that the key to success lies in identifying the critical tasks, the ones that have the greatest potential to trigger a cascade of positive outcomes. These critical tasks, he explained, are the lead dominoes, the ones that, when toppled, create momentum and make everything else easier or even unnecessary. Drawing parallels to real-world scenarios, he asked the participants to consider a complex proposal submission process. What are the key milestones, the critical path activities that, if completed effectively, would significantly increase your chances of winning the contract? He probed. The room buzzed with discussion as the participants, energized by the analogy, began to dissect their own projects, searching for their lead dominoes. It's not just about identifying tasks. It's about prioritization, about understanding which tasks have the greatest leverage. The facilitator emphasized, driving home the importance of strategic thinking. He introduced the concept of the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, which states that 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts. Your job, he challenged the group, is to identify that critical 20%, the tasks that will have the most significant impact on your overall success. He then introduced a powerful tool for prioritization, the focusing question. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? He asked, writing the question in bold letters on the whiteboard. The simplicity of the question belied its profound implications. It forced the participants to cut through the clutter of their to-do lists and hone in on the most essential, high-impact tasks. The room fell silent as the participants grappled with the question, applying it to their own work and personal lives. The facilitator encouraged them to think big, to consider their long-term goals, and then to systematically break down those goals into smaller, more manageable steps, always asking the focusing question at each level. Once you've identified your lead domino, your one thing, the next step is to build momentum, the facilitator explained, transitioning to the importance of consistent action. He emphasized that extraordinary results are rarely achieved overnight. They are the culmination of small, consistent efforts over time. It's about developing the discipline to focus on your one thing day after day until it becomes a habit, he stressed. He introduced the concept of the compound effect, explaining how small, seemingly insignificant actions, when repeated consistently over time, can lead to exponential growth. Think of it like investing a small amount of money each month, he explained. At first, the growth may seem slow, but over time, the power of compounding takes effect, and the returns become significant. The analogy resonated with the audience. They understood the power of compounding in the financial world, and they were now beginning to see how the same principle could be applied to their work, their relationships, and their personal lives. The key, the facilitator emphasized, was to identify the right actions, the ones that would have the greatest leverage over time, and then to commit to executing those actions consistently, day after day. Having laid the groundwork for understanding the domino effect, the facilitator introduced a principle that would further refine our approach to prioritization, the Pareto principle, often referred to as the 80-20 rule. He explained that this principle, discovered by Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, reveals a fascinating imbalance that permeates many aspects of life. Pareto, while studying wealth distribution in Italy, observed that 80% of the wealth was controlled by a mere 20% of the population. Intrigued, he investigated further and found this 80-20 ratio appearing in various domains, whether it's the impact of your efforts, the source of your problems, or the results you achieve. He explained the Pareto principle suggests that roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. This principle, though seemingly simple, has profound implications for how we approach our work. It challenges us to question our assumptions about equal effort leading to equal results, and encourages us to focus on identifying and leveraging the vital few activities that drive the majority of our successes. The room buzzed with quiet contemplation as the audience, many encountering this principle for the first time in a professional context, began to internalize its significance. How many of you feel a sense of accomplishment when you cross something off your to-do list? The facilitator asked, a playful smile on his face. A sea of hands shot up, myself included. Our brains love checking things off, he explained. It releases endorphins that make us feel good. He then paused, letting the weight of his next statement sink in. But here's the catch. Not all tasks are created equal. If we're not careful, we end up prioritizing the easiest tasks, the ones that give us that quick hit of accomplishment, rather than the ones that truly move the needle. He challenged us to shift our thinking from to-do lists, which tend to be long and unfocused, to success lists, which are concise and results-oriented. A to-do list aims you in every direction, while a success list aims you in a specific direction. He explained, one keeps you busy, the other gets you results. The message was clear. Prioritization is not about doing more. It's about doing the right things. It's about identifying the 20% of our tasks that will yield 80% of our desired results and ruthlessly eliminating or delegating the rest. This concept resonated deeply with the audience, particularly the government contractors who were accustomed to navigating demanding workloads and often felt the pressure to do it all. Pareto's 80-20 rule is a great starting point, but I want you to take it a step further. The facilitator challenged, his voice filled with conviction. I want you to embrace what I call extreme Pareto. He explained that this involves taking the 20% of tasks that drive 80% of our results and applying the 80-20 rule again and again and again until we arrive at the single most important task, the one thing that matters most. No matter how complex the goal or how daunting the project, he asserted, there's always a lead domino, an essential one thing that, when focused on, makes everything else easier or even unnecessary. He urged us to view this process as a relentless pursuit of clarity, a way to cut through the noise and hone in on the actions that truly matter. The room buzzed with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The concept of extreme Pareto was both empowering and challenging. It promised clarity and focus, but also demanded a willingness to confront our assumptions about how we prioritize our work and to embrace a more strategic, results-oriented approach. As the facilitator continued, I could sense a shift in the room, a growing realization that mastering the art of extreme Pareto could be a game changer, not just in our professional lives, but in all areas of our lives. The facilitator shifted gears, moving from the theoretical framework of the Pareto principle to the practical realm of implementation. It's not enough to simply understand these concepts, he emphasized, his voice taking on a tone of urgency. We need to internalize them to make them part of our daily routines, our very way of thinking. He then introduced a powerful concept that resonated deeply with the audience, the power of habit. We are what we repeatedly do, he stated, quoting Aristotle. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. He went on to explain that our habits, both good and bad, shape our actions, our decisions, and ultimately, our destinies. If we want to achieve extraordinary results, he asserted, we need to cultivate the habits that will support those results. The room fell silent as the audience, many accustomed to the fast-paced, ever-changing world of government contracting, contemplated the profound implications of this statement. The facilitator's words served as a powerful reminder that success is not a destination, but a journey, a process of continuous improvement driven by the conscious cultivation of positive habits. His message was clear. If we want to achieve extraordinary results, we need to start by examining our habits and making the necessary adjustments to align our actions with our aspirations. Having established the importance of habit formation, the facilitator introduced a tool that would prove invaluable in our quest for focus and productivity, the focusing question. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or necessary? He asked, writing the question in bold letters on the whiteboard. The question, though deceptively simple, held the power to cut through the clutter of our to-do lists and illuminate the path to our most important goals. He explained that the focusing question is not a one-time exercise, but rather a tool to be used continuously throughout the day, week, and year. By consistently asking ourselves this question, he explained, we force ourselves to prioritize, to identify the most impactful actions, and to eliminate or delegate the rest. The audience, initially hesitant, began to grasp the transformative potential of this simple question. By framing our decisions and actions in the context of this question, we could ensure that we were always moving in the right direction, always making progress towards our most important goals. The focusing question, it became clear, was not just a tool for productivity. It was a tool for aligning our actions with our values, our goals, and our aspirations. To illustrate the power of the focusing question in action, the facilitator guided us through an exercise that brought the concept of extreme Pareto to life. Think of a goal you're currently working towards, he instructed, something that feels challenging, maybe even a bit overwhelming. He then asked us to write down our goal at the top of a piece of paper. Now, he continued, using the focusing question as your guide, break down that goal into smaller, more manageable steps. He encouraged us to think about the key milestones, the critical path activities that, if completed effectively, would significantly increase our chances of achieving our overall goal. As we worked through the exercise, the power of the focusing question became increasingly apparent. By repeatedly asking ourselves, what's the one thing I can do? We were able to cut through the noise and identify the most impactful actions, the lead dominoes that would set in motion a cascade of positive outcomes, ultimately leading to the achievement of our larger goals. The facilitator, sensing a shift in the room from understanding to application, introduced a practical tool to harness the power of extreme Pareto, the Pareto bracket. This visual tool, he explained, helps us systematically drill down to our one thing, ensuring we're always focusing on the most impactful actions. He drew a large bracket on the whiteboard, resembling a tournament bracket, with the ultimate goal at the top. Let's say your goal is to run a marathon, he said, writing, "Run a marathon" at the top of the bracket. What are 5 things you could do to achieve this goal? He wrote down the suggestions as participants called them out. Train consistently, develop a nutrition plan, get enough sleep, find a running buddy, and invest in proper gear. Now, he continued, using the focusing question, which of these 5 actions is the lead domino, the one thing that would make the other 4 easier or unnecessary? After a brief discussion, the group agreed that train consistently was the most impactful action. He circled it and drew a line connecting it to the next level of the bracket. Now, repeat the process for this new level, he instructed. What are 5 things you could do to train consistently? And which of those is the most impactful? Having explored the power of the Pareto bracket in a specific context, the facilitator broadened the scope, introducing a framework for applying the one thing philosophy to all areas of our lives, the 7 circles of focus. He drew 7 interconnected circles on the whiteboard representing key life areas: spiritual life, physical health, personal life, key relationships, job, business, and finances. Each of these areas is important, he explained, but they're not all equally important at the same time. He emphasized that the key to living a balanced and fulfilling life is to identify our one thing within each circle, the action that will have the greatest positive impact on that particular area, and to align our time and energy accordingly. He then gave us a few minutes to reflect on each circle, asking ourselves the focusing question: what's the one thing I can do in this area of my life such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? The room fell silent as we pondered our priorities, our aspirations, and the actions that would move us closer to the lives we envisioned. The exercise served as a powerful reminder that success is not just about professional achievements, but about living a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling in all its dimensions. Identifying our one thing is only half the battle, the facilitator announced, bringing us back from our individual reflections. The other half is creating the time and space to actually do it. He then introduced a concept that resonated deeply with the time-constrained realities of our lives: time blocking. Most people plan their day around their meetings and commitments, leaving their most important work to chance, he explained. Time blocking flips the script. He emphasized that the key is to schedule time for our one thing first treating it as a non-negotiable appointment in our calendars, and then fitting everything else around it. He acknowledged that this approach might feel counterintuitive at first, but he assured us that the results would speak for themselves. By consistently blocking time for our one thing, he explained, we create the structure and discipline necessary to make significant progress towards our goals, even amidst the inevitable distractions and demands of our daily lives. As the workshop drew to a close, a palpable sense of transformation filled the room. The air, once thick with the weight of competing priorities and the pressure to do it all, now buzzed with focused energy and a renewed sense of purpose. We had embarked on a journey, a deep dive into the deceptively simple yet profoundly impactful principles of the one thing, and emerged with a framework for achieving extraordinary results by mastering the art of focus. The core message resonated deeply. Success is not about doing more. It's about doing the right things exceptionally well. It's about identifying the lead dominoes in our lives and work, the actions that will have the greatest impact on our overall goals, and relentlessly prioritizing them. It's about resisting the urge to chase every shiny object, to multitask our way to mediocrity, and instead embracing the power of focused action. The principles we explored, from the domino effect to the Pareto principle to the focusing question, offered a refreshing departure from the conventional wisdom of busyness as a badge of honor. They provided a roadmap for navigating the complexities of our modern world, a world saturated with distractions and demands, and emerging with clarity, purpose, and a laser-like focus on what truly matters. The workshop wasn't just about professional development. It was about personal transformation. It challenged us to examine our relationship with time, our priorities, and our deeply held beliefs about success. It encouraged us to move beyond the limitations of to-do lists and embrace the power of success lists, to prioritize not just our tasks, but our lives. The 7 Circles of Focus exercise served as a powerful reminder that true success is holistic. It's about aligning our actions with our aspirations in all areas of our lives, our spiritual well-being, our physical health, our relationships, and our contributions to the world. It's about living a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling, both personally and professionally. As government contractors accustomed to navigating complex regulations and demanding deadlines, we often find ourselves pulled in countless directions. The one thing philosophy offered a way to reclaim our time, our energy, and our focus, to break free from the shackles of overwhelm and step into a space of empowerment where our actions are intentionally aligned with our deepest values and our most audacious goals. The true measure of a workshop's success lies not in the information consumed, but in the actions inspired. As the facilitator delivered his closing remarks, he issued a call to action, a challenge to translate the principles we had explored into tangible results. The power of the one thing is not in knowing, it's in doing, he emphasized. It's about making a conscious choice every day to focus on what matters most. He urged us to embrace the focusing question as a daily mantra, a tool for cutting through the noise and illuminating the path to our most important goals. He encouraged us to experiment with time blocking, to create the space in our schedules for our one thing, and to guard that time fiercely. And he reminded us that change, even positive change, can be challenging, but the rewards of focus, clarity, and extraordinary results are well worth the effort. As we filed out of the conference room, a sense of possibility hung in the air. We left armed with a new perspective, a set of powerful tools, and a renewed determination to create a domino effect in our lives and work, one focused action at a time. The journey ahead might not always be easy, but we now had the roadmap, the mindset, and the unwavering belief in our ability to achieve extraordinary results, one domino at a time.